Well, one of the things that seems to be affecting the next Bond, which I knew the title of it 2 seconds ago, and I fucking forgot it for fuck's sake. But anyway, it seems to be that this next Bond is becoming very, very politically correct, and it's going to be very feminist heavy and diversity and all that stuff. But I'm
Yeah.
gonna ask you now. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. This is me asking the question. Alex isn't saying anything. But what's your take on the rise of political correctness and outrage by cinema? Because I'll give you an example. The last two films I went to see was The Joker and Rambo 5, and both have been called racist simply because the lead is this violent white guy.
Yeah.
Not that I'm no. Alex didn't say that. I said that. He's not saying no. It's not. But what's your take on the rise of PC?
Oh, I fucking hate it. I think it's just ridiculous. It's an absolute absurdity, and I mean you can't win against those who will be offended. You cannot win. You cast a white guy in that situation and they call you racist, and you cast a black guy in the situation and they say, well, you're painting black people as being violent or whatever, and you're a racist as a result. So literally you can't win against that kind of outrage culture. It's impossible, and it's fucking destroying movies. It certainly has destroyed comedy. There's no question. I mean, you can't crack a joke now without someone being outraged by what you're saying, and I think it's just a disaster. I hope that it will change. I really think there's enough people now that are just getting a little bit sick of it, quite frankly, and enough people who are aware of it. And it's just, I think it's, I hope it's done its dash. I hope we're gonna get rid of this whole stupid mentality in the next year or so.
Yeah, there's a TV writer and a film critic that I really love. His name's Mark Bernardin, and he hosts this podcast. And he's an African American man, and he's becoming the worst example of someone who claims all this PC stuff. Where, get this, he literally said, and this is a quote, that Toy Story 4 that the Toy Story 4 was an allegory for slavery. And it's like no, it's about talking toys.
Yeah. Well, I had it on Gods of Egypt, my most recent movie. I try not to call it my last movie, because if you call something your last movie, maybe it'll end up becoming being your last movie. But I don't know whether you caught up with the outrage over the casting in Gods of Egypt. And the expectation was, I was called a racist for casting Caucasian people in a movie about mythological gods of a mythological Egypt that's not even a real Egypt. And I think the expectation was that I would cast all African Americans because Middle Eastern Arabic actors are as rare as hen's teeth. They're just not many of them. Certainly not in Australia. That's for sure, where I made the movie. But because I cast some Caucasians, I actually cast a mixture of Caucasian, Asian, African American, etc., etc. But because I cast some white people in there, I was considered a racist. Now, the sad reality is I'm actually Egyptian, and I don't know whether you can tell, but can you see how pale I am? I'm actually pretty pale, So and it's just ridiculous, The movie was a fantasy. It wasn't supposed to be a historical story. So that's one other example of this ridiculous politically correct culture that we're experiencing right now.